Good evening. Thanks very much for joining us on India Business Hour. I'm Shereen Bhan. The top stories that we're tracking for you tonight. A late surge helps the Nifty reconquer 18,000. The Sensex gains over 450 points. Both indices gain over 2.5% this week, making it the best weekly gain in the last 9 months. Amazon beat street estimates in the first quarter amidst layoffs. Revenue up 9%, largely driven by the growth in its cloud and advertising business. But no mention of India in the earnings report. That is for the first time in a decade. A body blow to the revival of Jet Airways. CEO-designate Sanjeev Kapoor, one of the last remaining senior executives, resigns from the airline. Ola CEO Bhavish Aggarwal says he wants to end the ICE age for scooters, have only electric scooters on Indian roads by 2025. Also says Ola is ready for a subsidy-free future, but asks the government to pull back subsidies gradually. That's an exclusive. 15 months after it was notified, the government is yet to approve the eligible candidates for the Semiconductor PLI scheme. Government sources say the process is in advanced stages but stops short of indicating a timeline. Vedanta says it's committed 1.5 lakh crore rupees but remains silent on finalizing deals on technology transfer with its global chip partner. German engineering major Siemens looks to double down on India's railway sector. President and CEO Roland Bush tells CNBC-TV18 the company will continue to bid aggressively for tenders. Adds that it wants to use India as a base for global exports. That's an exclusive. Ultratech Cement's net profit declines 32% in the fourth quarter, but revenue growth at over 18% and margins ahead of estimates. The Supreme Court terms hate speech a serious offence, directs states to file cases even if no complaint is made, warns that any delay in registering cases would be considered as contempt of court. Unseasonal rains and hailstorms damage a sizable portion of this year's Rabi crop. A special report on the plight of farmers in Madhya Pradesh coming up. And Elon Musk completes 6 months as the CEO of Twitter. His tumultuous reign has upended the company and his own reputation. A special report coming up. Well, let's start with the day's trading action. Nifty back above 18,000, marking a late rally on Friday. The Sensex gained over 450 points. Both indices gaining more than 2.5% this week, making it the biggest weekly gain in 9 months. In fact, April has been a good month for companies. The combined market cap of BSE-listed firms rose by 20 lakh crore rupees in the last 1 month. Prashant is here to wrap up the market action.
Well, the market was trading between 9:15 and 3, but I dare say the real action started at 3 p.m. Between 3 and 3:30 p.m. today, the Nifty added 100 points and the Bank Nifty added 300 points. It was a bazooka move and just kept going. We're almost at 18,100 on the Nifty. Bank Nifty also doing very well. Mid-caps and small-cap indices, well, they participated through the course of the day in a very healthy way. I'll get to stocks in a bit. PSU banks, IT and energy are three areas where maximum gainers came through. And Reliance and I.T.C. were the big contributors to the Nifty. Between them, a hefty chunk. Nestle, Wipro, L&T, HDFC Life and Apollo Hospitals are some of the others which did quite well. It's the breadth of the broader market moves, mid-caps, small caps, which moved based on earnings, some just sort of catching momentum on the way up. That's been truly impressive, a feature of this market over the last 5 sessions. Names like Zomato, PI Industries, Indus Tower, Nykaa, Zee, Loris, tire companies like CNBC-TV18, EIH Hotels, Stovecraft, and so on and so forth. I mean, a plethora of gainers that we had. There were some losers as well. News-related, Godrej Consumer, Raymond lost. Shriram Finance and CSB Bank were lower on earnings, and a few others as well. It's a melt-up. I mean, I think there is no other way to describe it. In very, very strong hands, we find ourselves. It's a 3-day long weekend. We come back next week on Tuesday, and then Wednesday we got the Fed decision, which I think is going to be the big cue. Can that interrupt this rally? I think we'll only be wiser on Thursday morning once we hear from the Fed and what they've done. But I think Tuesday morning we come back with and deal with an accumulated set of earnings which we would have gotten, and of course global cues as well. Back to you.
Yes, Prashant, many thanks. Monday, no market action, and we will be back with the markets on Tuesday. But on to the global earnings corner. Tech giant Amazon reporting a strong set of numbers in the March quarter. This amidst layoffs, revenues grow 9% to $127 billion, and this was largely driven by the growth in its cloud business and advertising unit. Amazon Web Services revenues rose about 16% this quarter, but this is a deceleration from the previous quarter. The company also warned that revenue from the cloud business could could slow down further. However, the company has not mentioned its India business in its earnings report, and this is for the first time in a decade. Take a look.
As expected, customers continue to evaluate ways to optimize their cloud spending in response to these tough economic conditions in the first quarter. And we are seeing these optimizations continue into the second quarter, with April revenue growth rates about 500 basis points lower than what we saw in Q1.
Well, that is Amazon, and now Japanese tech giant Sony reporting a record annual operating revenue, largely driven by its semiconductor division, and jump in its PlayStation 5 sales, revenue up 35% to nearly $22 billion. The company sold over 19 million PlayStation 5 consoles this financial year, beating its own forecast of 18 million. Intel, meanwhile, posting its largest ever quarterly loss of nearly $3 billion in the March quarter. Revenue down 36% year-on-year to over $11 billion. Interestingly, the stock was up 2% as the loss per share was slightly better than what Wall Street was expecting. Back home, cement manufacturer Ultratech's net profit missed street estimates in Q4, slipping 36% compared to the same period last year. However, the company's revenue growth was over 18% and margins were ahead of estimates. Here's a CNBC-TV18 exclusive. Bhavish Aggarwal, the CEO of Ola, India's top e-two-wheeler maker, has set himself an ambitious target to make all scooters in India electric by 2025. In an exclusive interview with me, Aggarwal said, and I quote, "I'm saying this on the record that by the end of 2025, we can make all two-wheelers in India electric." He's speaking of scooters specifically. It is a little aggressive, but that's what we are striving for. And to make that happen, we need to build the right products at the right cost structures and to bring supply chains to India, end of quote. Now, for context, 55 lakh scooters were sold last fiscal in India. E-scooters account for about 13% of them. Now, the Ola founder also says that industry will not require subsidies beyond a certain point, but cautions that subsidies should not go away completely but should taper gradually. He told me, and I quote, "Early last year, we started working towards making sure our cost structure is ready for a non-subsidy regime, and so today we are almost there," end of quote. Aggarwal also told me that Ola's e-scooter portfolio will be complete by the 15th of August this year. He says the company plans to launch another 3 to 5 products in the next 2 quarters. On the issue of an Ola car, Bhavish Aggarwal says they are serious about the prospects. He believes they will launch an electric car by 2025. You can read more on our exclusive interview with Bhavish Aggarwal on our website, CNBC-TV18.com. Another exclusive this evening. 15 months after notifying the Semiconductor PLI scheme, the government is yet to finalize candidates. We learn from sources the government wants to ensure that eligible candidates are technically proficient, further adding that approvals may be granted soon. Ashmit joins us now with more details. Ashmit, any timeline that the government has given for finalizing who will finally make the cut?
Around December 2021 is when we had the notification come out for the 76,000 crore rupee semiconductor scheme. It's been over 15 months since then, but yet not much clarity in terms of which are the candidates which stand to get approval. Now, we reached out to highly placed sources within the government. What they tell us is that there is a reason behind the government not prescribing a very clear timeline. What the government sources indicate is that the government is allowing itself the luxury of this not prescribing a timeline, essentially because it wants to ensure that the candidates that are finally go through are technically proficient. Not just that, they also went on to say that the government is in advanced stages of the process of grant of approval, so expect it soon is what they tell us, again without prescribing a timeline. Towards that end, government sources also indicated that as far as the MOU is concerned with the United States, that will also yield some very visible gains in terms of the supply chain components, the supply chain moving here to India. That's, of course, as far as the government is concerned. Now, amongst the leading candidates, of course, we reached out to Vedanta, Foxconn as well. Now, what they tell us is that they're confident of securing the government's nod soon, and that subject to the government approval, they could even begin construction as early as by the end of 2023. Not just that, they reaffirmed their commitment of ₹1.5 lakh rupees as far as their Gujarat fabrication facility is concerned, said that this will have a capacity of 40,000 wafers, that production is likely to begin in 2027, that it will create around 80,000 to 1 lakh jobs. However, there is a big question mark here. Vedanta Foxconn is heavily reliant on its conversations, its talks with European chipmaker ST Microelectronics. And while we asked them what the status of this conversation is in terms of technology transfer agreement, there was no clarity emerging from Vedanta. There's a big question mark on that. So clearly all eyes on Vedanta Foxconn's answers in terms of technical preparedness, and of course answers, all eyes on the government as well for granting its nod for this semiconductor scheme worth 76,000 crore.
Ashmit, many thanks for joining us. And here's another exclusive this evening. German engineering major Siemens looks to double down on India's railway sector. Speaking to CNBC-TV18, the global president and CEO Roland Busch says the company will continue to bid aggressively for tenders, adding that it wants to use India as a base for global exports.
Mobility, we recently won a 3 billion order for locomotives. That's just the start. We want to double down on that success. Healthcare too. I mean, the healthcare system is also expanding. So we are firing on all cylinders. Definitively not slow down in contrast. We want to double down on our success and really do more.
Indian banks are independent and well-managed and not vulnerable to the risk posed by exposure to any single big corporate. That's the word in from former veteran of Indian banking and the former chairman of I.C.E. Bank, N. Vaghul. Speaking with Yash Jain on the sidelines of his book launch, he said that India is more stable versus global players because of the pragmatic approach of its economic policy.
Most of the large banks today are so independent, they don't think that they will be vulnerable to any politics from the corporate houses.
Okay.
I can't believe that.
Okay.
I mean, the large banks are so professionally managed. No decision is taken by an individual. This is at least 20 years back. This is what I knew.
Okay.
So I personally don't know about it. I am out of touch with banking for 20 years, but I can't imagine that happening.
That's N. Vaghul. The big breaking story this evening. Sanjeev Kapoor, the CEO-designate of grounded airline Jet Airways, has quit the company. Kapoor's exit is the third senior-level exit just this week. The Jalan Kalrock Consortium, the new owner of the airline, had announced Kapoor's appointment in March last year. The fate of the airline is uncertain as they're yet to adhere to the NCLT-defined deadline of payment to creditors. Madiha Mujawar joins us now. Well, in a sense, the last man standing is now gone, Madiha. Further uncertainty for Jet's revival plans.
Well, clearly, Shereen, this is a major blow to Jet Airways' revival. The airline had seen many senior-level exits in the last few months. Just this week, 2 management executives parted ways with the grounded airline. That's accountable manager P.P. Singh and company secretary Neeraj Manchanda, who quit the airline this week. Sanjeev Kapoor, the CEO-designate, was the last remaining senior executive, and today, even he has decided to part ways. Kapoor had joined Jet Airways in April 2022, and it's exactly 1 year after which he's decided to give up. And there's no official comment from either Kapoor or the Jalan Kalrock Consortium, but the reasons are quite obvious. The JKC doesn't have ownership of the airline even after months of back and forth with the lenders. The airline's revival looks quite uncertain now. We had reported earlier that time is running out for Jalan Kalrock Consortium with 2 deadlines approaching next month. The consortium has time till 13th May to make payments, and if it fails, the lenders may even move to the Supreme Court against the JKC, and the other deadline is 19th May when the air operator's certificate is due to expire. So things not looking too hopeful for the airline, and Sanjeev Kapoor's exit has dealt a body blow for its hope to fly again.
Wrestlers continue to protest at Delhi's Jantar Mantar against Federation Chief Brij Bhushan Singh. The Solicitor General today telling the Supreme Court that an FIR against Singh will be filed today. The Apex Court is directed for protection to a minor girl who is among multiple women accusing Singh of sexual harassment and ill treatment. Meanwhile, support has been pouring in for the wrestlers from several writing on social media, including Olympic champions Abhinav Bindra, Neeraj Chopra. Meanwhile, support has been pouring in for the wrestler Shivani Bajaj visited Jantar Mantar this morning to find that even young and upcoming wrestlers have joined their seniors in the protest against the Federation Chief.
National level and Olympic wrestlers working out, not in a stadium or on a wrestling match, but at a protest site, getting ready for a fight that could be long. These women wrestlers have been protesting at Delhi's Jantar Mantar, less than 3 kilometers away from the Indian Parliament, demanding action against Wrestling Federation of India Chief and BJP MP Brij Bhushan Singh over allegations of sexual misconduct. The protest began in January but was called off after assurances from Sports Minister Anurag Thakur. The wrestlers have moved the Supreme Court demanding action.
It's early morning here in Delhi's Jantar Mantar, where the wrestlers' protest has entered the 6th day. And as you can see behind me, that the wrestlers have been practicing for their upcoming games since morning. As you can see, not just the big names, including Vinesh Phogat and Sakshi Malik, but also young wrestlers here practicing for their upcoming games and practically living on the streets of Delhi. Yesterday, as we know, that IOA chief PT Usha had said that wrestlers protesting like this amounts to indiscipline. But the wrestlers here say that they're sports persons and discipline is in their blood.
Lack of support from legendary athlete like PT Usha has hurt the wrestlers.
हम कमेटी के पास 3 महीने पहले गए थे, तब तो मैडम ने फ़ोन भी नहीं उठाए और मैडम अभी हमें अनुशासनहीन बोल रहे हैं। अनुशासन, मैडम खुद एक एथलीट है, आइकन है हमारे, तो मैडम से पूछे बिना अनुशासन के मेडल जीते जा सकते हैं। और जब आपकी एकेडमी को तोड़ा जा रहा था, जब आप ट्वीट कर रहे थे, तब अनुशासनहीनता नहीं थी, जब देश की गरिमा को कोई आँच नहीं आ रही थी। हम भी खिलाड़ी हैं, आपके पास तो राज्यसभा से सांसद भी हैं, आप आयोग के अध्यक्ष भी हैं, उसके बावजूद आपके साथ ऐसा हो सकता है, तो हमारे पास तो कोई ताकत भी नहीं है। हमारे पास तो सभी जो देशवासी 140 करोड़ हिंदुस्तानी, उनकी सभी की जो सपोर्ट है वही हमारी ताकत है।
And it's not just women. Young and rising male wrestlers have also joined the protests, all putting their careers at risk.
हमारी जो बहन बेटियों के साथ अन्याय हुआ उनका वो चाहते हैं हम तो जी बस।
और डर लगता है आपको इससे आपके करियर पे इम्पैक्ट होगा कुछ?
अगर इसका कुछ नहीं हुआ तो हमारा तो कुछ वो ही नहीं, आगे हम तो छोड़नी पड़ जाएगी जी हमको जी।
तो आप कह रहे हैं कि अगर न्याय नहीं हुआ तो आप रेसलिंग छोड़ देंगे?
हाँ जी,
नहीं खेलेंगे?
ये हरियाणा की अगर नहीं हुआ ना कुछ तो हरियाणा को कोई बिल्कुल पीछे कर देगा रेसलिंग को।
हमारे सीनियर इतने दुखी हो रखे हैं तो हमको तो होना ही पड़ेगा उनकी सपोर्ट देने के लिए। नहीं उनका वो नहीं होता आगे हम क्या कर पाएंगे। अन्याय नहीं होगा तो छोड़नी तो पड़ेगी। तो हरियाणा में सबसे ज़्यादा मेडल है और ये रजभूषण हरियाणा को सबसे पीछे डालता जा रहा है। ये अन्याय तो है ही। हम अपने सीनियरों का सपोर्ट देंगे जब तक ये हम भी यहाँ पर ही नहीं।
The celebrated wrestlers of India forced to live on the roads of Delhi. That's the status of the wrestlers' protest here in Delhi's Jantar Mantar. The protesting wrestlers say that they're not afraid to put their careers on stake for justice. Even young wrestlers here say that if justice is not done, they'll be forced to quit wrestling. In Delhi, with video journalist Huday Patra, this is Shivani Bazaz for CNBC-TV18.
Unseasonal rains and hailstorm have damaged a sizable portion of this year's Rabi crop. Farmers in Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Punjab, Haryana and Rajasthan have been impacted the most. As part of our ongoing series, What's Ailing Rural India, CNBC-TV18 Santiagora travelled to Madhya Pradesh to get a first-hand look at the extent of crop damage and how farmers are coping.
It may look like it, but this white powder covering the roads is not snow. This is southeast Madhya Pradesh in the middle of March, and that white powder is hail. It's one of the reasons farmers in the region who grow wheat, gram and other pulses are struggling to make ends meet. Hachal Singh Mewada and his wife Leelabai Mewada from Chanderi village in MP's Sihor district blame these hailstorms for destroying almost their entire crop of wheat this year, putting even next year's livelihood in jeopardy.
आशा तो ये ठीक है 20 क्विंटल से 25 क्विंटल 30 क्विंटल तक खींचना चाहिए, मगर अब आशा ये हो गई कि कुछ भी नहीं, आधी फसल नहीं हिटी।
तिहर की फसल नहीं हुई पूरी। 400 रुपया मेहनती जा छोरा हो कई गेहूँ काटे, ढोकरा ढोकरे से कई गेहूँ काटे, आड़ा पड़गा कमर दुखिया।
नहीं फसल अगर नहीं गिरती जब तो हमें कोई बात नहीं थी, मगर फसल गिरने के बाद में अधिकारी उसको ये बोल रहे हैं कि वो कुछ नहीं हो।
70 kilometers away in Chopra village, Braj Mohan Rajput says he's in a tight spot. He had taken 3 acres of land on lease at a little over 1 lakh rupees per year. But his mixed crop of gram and wheat have failed, and he now has no choice but to borrow from money lenders at exorbitant rates to feed his family and clear his dues.
अभी तक कोई ना तो सर्वे वाले आए और ना कोई अभी तक जानकारी मिली हमें। जो चने का नुकसान तो हमारा पूरा ही हो गया, 3-3.5 कुंटल चनों में क्या होगा। अब पैसे देने पड़ेंगे अब सेठ कहीं से, 1,30,000 रुपये देना है।
Farmers across the state, from Bhopal to Mandsaur and Khargone, from Shahdol to Narmadapuram, Gwalior and Rewa, are in the same boat. It doesn't matter if they had sown wheat or gram or vegetables. They say the compensation they were promised last year has still not come, so hope that this year's promise will be kept soon is also dimming.
मैडम कोई वो आश्वासन नहीं, सरकार कह देती है कुछ नहीं मिलता है। मुआवजा मिलता है, ना तुषार का मिलता है और ना कोई बीमा दे रहा है, कुछ नहीं दे रहा है।
कुछ नहीं दिया मैडम, वो मुआवजा मिलेगा दिया ही नहीं।
But the state government says the promised 32,000 rupees per hectare of damaged crop will be paid as soon as surveys are done.
एक किसान का भी अगर ओले से फसल का नुकसान हुआ तो उसको भी दिया जाएगा। जितना भी क्षति हुई है उसकी पूर्ति हम करने वाले हैं इसी महीने।
सर कोई आंकड़ा है हमारे पास कि इतने
हमने आंकड़े इकट्ठे कर रहे हैं, पूरा बुला रहे हैं, लेकिन जो भी नुकसान होता है हम उसको देंगे।
It's not just MP's farmers who are struggling. Farmers in states like Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan and Maharashtra have been hit hard by unseasonal rains. The damaged crops range from wheat and maize to onions, mustard and various vegetables and fruits. Many state governments have assured farmers they will be compensated for the damaged crops. However, the compensation will start only after the surveys to examine the fields and estimate the damage is complete, and deadline set by states for this stage has already passed and there's still a lot of backlog left. This will automatically mean compensation payouts will get delayed, which is not good news for farmers who had banked on this money to get the next harvest and sowing season going in June. Experts say the harsher hits will come from failed wheat, maize and gram, which make up 85% of the area normally sown for the Rabi season. For farmers, the revenue loss is said to be staggering.
We've looked at if the rainfall hadn't happened, if the quality deterioration hadn't happened, what would have been the production and price of these crops, and what is it now given the unseasonal rainfall, and what is the delta between the two in terms of the revenue loss. And when we look at this for wheat, mustard, paddy, maize and gram for the Rabi season, and these account for 85% of Rabi's normal sown area, we see that the extent of revenue loss could be to the tune of around rupees 13,000 crores.
This has significant ramifications for the rest of the country as well. Not only will state governments have to pay out large amounts as compensation, hurting their fiscal situation, the resultant food shortage could mean another spike in food inflation. The big question is whether the government will consider hiking minimum support prices for the upcoming Kharif season to throw farmers a lifeline. In Bhopal, Santiagora.
Elon Musk has completed 6 months as the CEO of Twitter. In this time, Musk has upended the company by laying off nearly 80% of the staff. Revenues have taken a big hit as advertisers remain skeptical of the platform's content moderation policy. Kiran Khatri and Vijay Anand report that the rollout of Twitter Blue is emblematic of the problems plaguing the company.
Twitter's blue tick was once a status symbol. The tick meant that users had been verified for who they said they actually were. It gave weight to their voices and indicated authenticity. But Twitter CEO Elon Musk turned this system upside down by rolling out Twitter Blue, the app subscription service, in November to garner revenue. And now anyone who pays for the service gets verified, even if they may have been an imposter or may have 0 followers. A Mashable report citing researcher Travis Brown showed that at the end of March, Twitter Blue had a total of over 4.4 lakh subscribers. Half of these users had fewer than 1,000 followers. That's more than 2 lakh subscribers. Over 78,000 had fewer than 100 subscribers, while over 2,200 had no followers at all. Last week, Musk began removing verification tick marks from legacy user accounts that didn't sign up for Twitter Blue, including media organizations and popular celebrities. Within 24 hours, the app descended into chaos as fake accounts grew rampant and false information spread. For instance, a fake Twitter account of Sudan's Rapid Support Forces was granted a blue tick. The account announced the death of RSF commander Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo amid the ongoing armed conflict in the country. That tweet was seen by nearly 1 million people before the account was taken down. In another instance, a Disney Junior UK account that was sharing offensive content received a gold verification badge before being suspended. Meanwhile, New York City's official government account lost its verification. Another account bearing a similar username claimed to be the real one. However, Twitter later restored the official account's grey mark, which refers to a government organization. The Twitter Blue rollout also created a lot of confusion among users. Last week, several high-profile users lost their verification, including Beyoncé, Oprah Winfrey, Shah Rukh Khan and Virat Kohli. Later, in a U-turn, Twitter restored the check marks for many of these celebrities, but left some out, indicating a lack of coherent policy. What's concerning is that accounts belonging to celebrities who are no more, such as Kobe Bryant and Anthony Bourdain, also received the verification badge. Celebrities like Stephen King, LeBron James and William Shatner, who opposed Twitter Blue, were given the blue tick without their consent. Musk was the one who paid for them. As per experts, this can have legal consequences. Someone who received a blue check mark without their permission can file a false endorsement lawsuit. Despite all this, will Elon Musk stick to this new system or go back to the old verification system? When CNBC-TV18 reached out to Twitter, they simply replied with a poop emoji. With Vijay Anand and Kiran Khatri, this is Archana Solanki.
So I've lost my blue tick and gained a couple of fake accounts. With that, it is time for me to wrap up this edition of India Business Hour. From all of us here, thanks very much for watching. Stay tuned to CNBC-TV18. The news continues. Have a great weekend.